Now we will move on to the 9 signs of bhakti given to us by Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the scripture par excellence on bhakti. How is the Bhagavatam described? Nigama kalpataru galitam phalam. If Nigama, the Vedas, are kalpataru, the wish-fulfilling tree, then the sweet, luscious fruit of that tree is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because it is about the Divine Lord. It is about bhakti. It is the sweetest fruit of that tree, of the Vedas. And here, in this scripture, in the 7th skandha and 5th chapter, you have the story of Prahlad, who was one of the greatest devotees of Lord Vishnu, and he will be teaching us the Nava Bhakti Lakshana, the 9 signs of devotion, the 9 features of devotion. So all of you most probably know the story of Prahlad, but briefly I will go into it. Prahlad itself means Prakrishtena Ahladayati iti Prahlad, one who gives great delight, great joy. This was the nature of Prahlad. He was so immersed in the consciousness of Vishnu that he gave joy to everyone around him. He was the son of Hiranyakashipu, who was an asura, who was a demon, and his wife Kayadhu. And Hiranyakashipu himself was the son of Diti and Kashyap. They had 2 sons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and Hiranyakashipu's son was Prahlad. Now when Prahlad was still in his mother's womb, it came into Hiranyakashipu's head that he should perform great austerities and please Lord Brahma and get the boon of immortality from him. So then he will not die and he can reign forever on the Asuras. So he went for austerities and performed such intense austerity for a period of a few months that Lord Brahma appeared before him and said, my son, ask what boon you want. Hiranyakashipu said, please make me immortal. And Brahmaji said, that is not possible because it is against the law of creation. Whoever is born has to die. Ask for something else. Then Hiranyakashipu thought, and he decided upon something. He thought it is equivalent to immortality. He said, my lord, then make it such that I am killed by neither man nor beast, neither inside a house nor outside a house, neither by day nor by night, neither with weapons nor without weapons. With all these boons, Hiranyakashipu thought he is as good as immortal now. So when he was asking for these boons, in his mind was the perception that now my objective is achieved. And Brahmaji did grant him this boon. So he was jubilant, very happy, and he went back home. Now, in the meanwhile, when he was performing his austerities and trying to get these boons, Indra attacked his kingdom. Knowing very well that Hiranyakashipu was not there, he attacked the kingdom and he ransacked the kingdom, drove away the asuras and took Hiranyakashipu's wife Kayadhu, who was pregnant with Prahlad. He took her with him because his purpose was he wanted to destroy the child in her womb. Why was this Indra's purpose? For the simple reason, he thought that this is the way he would end the race of Asuras. So he took Kayadhu with him. As he was going towards heaven, sage Narada intervened and said, Indra, you do not know what you are doing. This child in Kayadhu's womb, he is a great devotee of the Lord. You don't even think of putting an end to his life. He is not like his father, and you will be amazed at his devotion. So allow him to live. As soon as he said this, Indra was shaken, and he thought, that's right. How did I think upon this? And he said, O sage, then I hand over Kayadhu to you. Please take care of her until her husband comes to claim her back. And thus, Kayadhu went with sage Narada and lived in his ashram as his own daughter. Narada took great care of her in his hermitage, and the beautiful ambience of that hermitage, full of devotional fervor, had a great impact on Kayadhu's mind. See, the very early morning hours, the sweet name of the Lord, then the worship of the Lord would start. The whole day was spent in service of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And then there were these divine discourses by sage Narada on the divine glories of Lord Vishnu. So all this Kayadhu imbibed the beautiful devotional ambience of the ashram. And the child in her womb, Prahlad, he also silently imbibed all of these beautiful devotional attitudes. And then Hiranyakashipu had now finished his austerity and he came back. He discovered that his kingdom had been ransacked and his wife was with sage Narada. And then he rushed to the hermitage, the ashram, and sage Narada sent Kayadhu back with Hiranyakashipu with his blessings. And then when they were back in their kingdom, Prahlad was born. Now looking at the beautiful face of his newborn, Hiranyakashipu was all happiness itself, and he celebrated the occasion. The whole kingdom celebrated because this was the firstborn and he would be the future king of the Asuras. So there were wide celebrations everywhere. And slowly as Prahlad grew up, he became the delight of everyone's heart because he was so the very radiance he shed, the very aura around him was so divine. And he was a sweet, soft-spoken child. Slowly, Hiranyakashipu started thinking of his education. He called 2 teachers who were Shand and Amark and sent Prahlad to their Gurukul. So even the Asura lads had a Gurukul where they were taught the Asura ways of life, which included all sorts of things like the divide and rule policy, bribery, how to manage things through any way, in any way, and all sorts of things which Asuras do were taught in that Gurukul. But it was seen that Prahlad was very different from the other boys. He was holy, he was pious, and all the other boys started respecting him, not because he was Hiranyakashipu's son, but because he radiated a bhav which was very different, very, you can say, un-Asura-like. Not at all, not the least bit like a demon. And then the teachers thought that he was a strange phenomenon. And they would once in a while tell Hiranyakashipu how his son was growing up. But Hiranyakashipu would just brush it aside, saying that he is only a young lad, 5 years old. He will pick up everything in time. So one day he called Prahlad to him and Hiranyakashipu made him sit on his lap and asked him, "My son, please tell me, what have you learnt?" And Prahlad said, "I have learnt that this whole world is pervaded by the Supreme Lord and He alone is to be worshipped." And Hiranyakashipu said, What do you mean? What else have you learnt?" And that is when Prahlad gave out this most, you can say, most important verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is studied even today, which gives us the Nava Bhakti Lakshana, the 9 signs of devotion. The verse goes like this. Is the 23rd and 24th verse of chapter 5 of the Skandha 7 of Bhagavatam. Prahlad says to Hiranyakashipu, the question is, what according to you is the best learning? What have you learned? Prahlad says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishno Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktische Navalakshana Kriyate Bhagavatyadva Tanmanye Adhitamuttamam. This I consider to be the best education. What? Shravanam, hearing the glories of the Lord. Kirtanam, singing the glories of the Lord. Smaranam, the memory of the Lord, thinking constantly of the Lord. And Padasevanam, the worship of the feet of the Lord. These I consider to be the most important part of education. Then he continues, Archanam, the worship of the Lord. Vandanam, bowing down to the Lord. Dasyam, the attitude of a servant towards his master, towards the Supreme Lord. And Sakhyam, the attitude of a friend, a comrade towards the Lord. And then he says Atmanivedanam, self-surrender to the Lord. All these towards the Supreme Lord Vishnu, I consider this to be the real education. Now, the reaction to this we will study slowly later on, but let us dwell on this verse a bit. By studying these specific attributes, these specific signs of devotion through the votaries of this form of devotion. Like, for example, the first one, Shravanam, hearing the glories of the Lord. See, this is something which is required to be done consciously. Just like how we keep hearing of so many things. It is so good to keep hearing about the Divine Lord, isn't it? His nature, His attributes. We will gradually imbibe them. So it is said that when Shabari was young and under the tutelage of her guru, sage Matang Muni, she would constantly hear the glories of Sri Ram, and she developed great devotion for Sri Ram. So it is important to do this Shravanam, constantly hearing the greatness of the Lord. Next is Kirtanam, singing the glories of the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna himself would do it. He would sing the praises of the Lord. That is why we have a huge hymnology, which means singing about the different attributes of the Lord. It keeps our mind on those attributes. So one should not shy away from all this. No matter where we are, this Kirtanam is very important, mentally dwelling on the Lord. Then after this is Smaranam, thinking frequently of the Lord, remembering Him. So you can do this through japa, through chanting His holy name. Holy Mother used to recommend this, japat siddhi, she would say. You can gain siddhi through japa. It's a way of remembering the Lord constantly. And Smaranam, one classic example of this is Mother Kunti, because she would pray to Lord Krishna, saying, "Oh Lord, please give me misery, so that then I will think more of you." See, whoever has done such a prayer, she asks for misery in her life so that she may remember the Lord constantly. So this is Smaranam. And then Padasevanam, that is worshipping the feet of the Lord. Lakshman is one of the best examples, votaries of this form of service. He would constantly wash the holy feet of Sri Ram. It was a way of his devotion. He served the Lord to his utmost. We know the great devotion of Lakshman for Sri Ram in the Ramayana. So through these examples, we can absorb these attributes, these forms of worship. Then we have Archanam, actual worship, actual puja of the Lord. So one who has performed puja knows its impact on the human mind. It is because we don't do these things that we don't know how to transform our mind. One puja really done with intensity, with complete devotion, is life transforming actually. Today we use the word glibly, karma hi puja hai. When you have not known puja, how will you know about other things? So this intense feel of devotion, it is required to manufacture it through methods like puja. That is why Archanam is given. Then Vandanam, that is bowing down to the Supreme Lord. This Vandanam is done in so many ways. Full length prostration. If you go even now to tirthas, which means pilgrimage spots, like Vrindavan, there's Vrindavan Parikrama. If you go to Shakti Peeths like Vaishno Devi, there also there are parikramas. You will see devotees prostrating full length right from the point where they start till the place where the Lord resides. So actually in Vaishno Devi, I saw this, that it's a 14-kilometer trail up a hill. And there are some devotees, all that 14 kilometers, they do it through prostration. By the time they have reached Mother on top of the hill, Mother Vaishno Devi, they are burning with a fervor. The very face has changed because so much of devotion has been generated. They have employed the entire body-mind complex in service of the mother, in prostrating before the mother. So the power of adoration through prostration is great. That is why Vandanam. Then Dasyam. Dasyam is the attitude of a servant towards his master. This was the attitude of Hanumanji towards Sri Ram. So we can learn so much from this. Although Sri Ram tells him, come, you are equivalent to Bharat for me. Still Hanumanji says, no, I am your servant. So there is no parallel in humility and service in the personality of Hanumanji. So this is the Dasya Bhav. Very important. And then the attitude of a Sakhyam, which is a friend, a comrade. So what do we not share with friends, isn't it? So this attitude towards the Lord generates a high degree of devotion and a closeness with the Lord. It is said in the Mahabharata that once Bhishma told Duryodhan just before the war that you are not going to win this war. And Duryodhan was very angry. He said, why not? And Bhishma said, see, I once went into the enemy camp. I went to the camp of the Pandavas and I saw that Arjun was keeping his foot on Krishna's thigh and trying to balance it there. And Krishna was trying to throw him off. They were playing like two friends and laughing and playing. So where there is such companionship with the Supreme Lord, you can be sure you cannot defeat that person. So this is Sakhyam, an attitude of complete comradeship, friendship with the Lord. So all of these attitudes are to be cultivated. This is Bhakti Navalakshana. Of course, the last one is Atmanivedanam, self-surrender to the Lord. Never is Bhakti complete without this self-surrender. The deep faith that I belong to the Lord and He is for me. I have surrendered to the Lord. So the Bhakta naturally develops this mindset. So these are the 9 forms of devotion to the 9 signs of devotion to the Supreme Lord. Now, as soon as Prahlad says this to Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakashipu is red with rage. And he says, how dare you praise my enemy? And how dare you formulate all this in praise of my enemy? I will have you persecuted. And then starts the actual persecution of Prahlad. All the means employed are really, see, the father forgets that Prahlad is his son. Now he's an enemy because he praises the enemy of Hiranyakashipu. So he starts by throwing Prahlad down a mountain, pushing Prahlad down. So the servants of Hiranyakashipu take Prahlad up a mountain and throw him down from there. But the lotus hands of Lord Vishnu save Prahlad. And Prahlad actually miraculously is saved in every incident. Then he's thrown into the fire. Holika, who's supposed to be untouched by fire, sits with Prahlad on her lap in the fire. And Holika is burnt, but not Prahlad. This is the power of Prahlad's devotion. Then he is given poison to drink. But nothing happens to Prahlad. Snakes are let out on him, but they don't bite him. In fact, they bow down to him. Elephants are let free, rogue elephants, to trample Prahlad to death. But they again bow down to Prahlad. So in every instance, Prahlad is saved. And the Asuras really don't know what to do now. So they invoke a demon through a yajna. And the demon is supposed to be very ferocious and he's supposed to kill Prahlad, but he kills the Pandits who invoked him instead and vanishes. So Prahlad is untouched by anything and deeply immersed in thinking of the Lord. So when it comes to this now, finally, when nothing can touch Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu is all rage. And he comes to Prahlad with sword in hand and says, where is your Vishnu? Where is your protector? And Prahlad says, why, he's everywhere. And Hiranyakashipu turns to a pillar there in his palace and says, Katham stambena drishyate? How come I don't see him in this pillar? And he gives a kick to the pillar. And out emerges the Narsimha avatar of Lord Vishnu. This is a fierce Ugra Murti, we say, of Lord Vishnu. with the head of a lion and the body of a man, and armed with all sorts of weapons, and fierce and ferocious to look at. And he drags Hiranyakashipu to the threshold of that palace building and satisfies all the boons which Hiranyakashipu asked for. See, he neither by day nor by night, at twilight hour, he drags him, and neither inside the house nor outside the house, on the threshold of the house, he places him there on his lap, and neither with weapons nor without weapons, with his bare nails, he rips open Hiranyakashipu's stomach and kills him, and then blood is spluttered all around. The devas, the gods themselves are scared looking at this form of the divine Lord. So they sent Prahlad to appease the Lord. As soon as Vishnu, in this form, Narsim Avatar it is called, when he sees Prahlad, he melts and he says, "My child, ask for a boon." Then Prahlad says, "My Lord, I am not a businessman. Like a businessman, I can't ask you for anything. I only want this much. If you want to grant me a boon, who am your servant, will accept this wish of yours. Grant me this much that I may be completely desireless. Grant me that I may never ask for anything. This is the boon I want." Look at the state of Prahlad's mind. I do not want anything but you. And Hiranyakashipu is mightily, not Hiranyakashipu, sorry, Narsim Avatar is mightily pleased, and he blesses Prahlad. See, Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi used to say this: if the mind is desireless, you will attain him right now. So this state of mind, so very important for bhakti, for the realization of the Lord, is being asked by Prahlad. So Narsim Avatar grants him this boon, and then Prahlad, for many years, he rules the kingdom very righteously with full devotion to the Supreme Lord. So this is the story of Prahlad and the story of the 9 features of devotion. We have a lot to learn from this story.